All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Thanks for your patience with the delay. So here's the walkthrough in terms of what we are doing at OREA during this crisis. So first, I just want to say to the Sutton folks here, thank you for what you do. I know every night before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about your clients, the difficult situation many of them are going through. Many have had to delay a purchase or a sale of their home. Somewhere in a crisis situation where they're halfway through and others are worried about their business and their job, and you've been there to have their backs. And just like you have the backs of your clients, we at OREA have your back to help you through this difficult time, and we will emerge together to a better time. We'll be right there at your side when we do. Our top priority was the health and safety of our members. Right out of the gate, our president, Sean Morrison, had given out guidance to our members on how to operate during this crisis. We called for our realtors to focus on essential sales only, postpone anything that was not essential till after the crisis, to maximize the virtual tools and to minimize public contact. And as part of that, we called for a shutdown of open houses across the province. I know Sutton did that as well. And the province of Ontario followed our lead on April 3rd by prohibiting in-person open houses, although virtual open houses are encouraged and protected. We did also fight to ensure that essential service designations included realtors in Ontario. This was not the case in many other states and provinces, but we lobbied the government to allow realtors to continue to practice, although in urgent transactions only, and to use the highest level of public health and safety standards. We were successful, so you could help out people who may have purchased a home and had to sell their own to meet financing, death, divorce, new job. Those type of transactions continued through the crisis. So it was business, but definitely not business as usual. So as part of our advice, we asked folks to stop open houses and face-to-face business and non-urgent showings of tenanted properties. Tenants have special protections during this current phase, and okay to do virtual showings using online tools to close deals and communicating with clients virtually or over the phone. We also got some good legal support on some of the gray areas that were taking place. So people have often asked, can you use photographers, videographers, stagers, or cleaners? They were not among the privileged groups like realtors who were designated as essential services. We did, though, get a legal opinion, which you've all received, and brokerages as well, saying you can use these services as long as they're working for you as part of a real estate transaction. Then they're covered by what's called the supply chain aspect of essential services. Home inspectors, by the way, while they're not explicitly covered by essential services, they do have their own legal opinion that they're covered under maintenance, so they can also perform their duties during this crisis under that designation. Best advice is make sure that you have this under contract with photographers, videographers, cleaners, stagers. That just helps show the supply chain if you do get any difficult questions from a public health official or a bylaw enforcement officer. And again, home inspectors have their own. We ask everybody to put their own health and safety first in this process, just good common sense as we continue to operate under a state of emergency until at least June the 9th. Sean Morrison said, why put your health on the line or that of your clients for something that can be postponed until after the crisis is over? You would have seen similar impact in your business. Here's a chart from the Brell team out of the Junction in Toronto that shows the rapid growth in coronavirus cases beginning in the third week of March and the precipitous decline in real estate sales that happened at the exact same time. That pattern pretty well replicated throughout the province. Here's a GTA sales, both in the city of Toronto and the greater Toronto area. That's up until mid-April, but a big drop in those timeframes around real estate transactions. And while we saw a decline in real estate transaction, prices pretty much have held steady. The number of buyers and sellers in the marketplace seem to equate, so prices held, which was a positive sign. And we'll see now with renewed real estate activity in the marketplace what that does on prices. But this is the showings on showing time, blue, of course, being 2019 and orange 2020. And the beginning of the year, as you know, January through mid-March was looking like a very strong year, and then the bottom fell out with COVID. But it's almost like a U-shape right now. So you can see that the number of showings continue to climb in the province. People have moved away from a mentality of stop everything, pandemic, I'm staying home, now to one of wanting to see common sense and good judgment when it comes to real estate transactions and working with the realtor. So as long as health protections are in place, you're seeing a lot more people interested in both the buyer and seller side. So what are we doing to have your back during this crisis? Well, This is our website, oreacovid19info.com. I encourage you to visit it. We've had about 30,000 unique visits from realtors across the province. Basically considered a one-stop shop for anything to do with COVID and real estate, from the latest data, the latest recommendations from OREA on conduct, anything on the advocacy front, and government programs that are there to benefit you, updated on a regular basis at that website, as well as our webinars are posted there, so you can catch up on the videos if you weren't able to join them. So here's a bit of a broad deck, and I'll send this back through Brooke for all those in attendance and those that couldn't make it, sort of summarizing what is included in our COVID-19 relief plan. I'll focus on a few of the highlights and happy to answer some questions. Here's some things that are upcoming, whether they're for realtors, for brokers, and also for team leaders and our member boards. The total was about $1.9 million that our board authorized out of OREA reserves from the rainy day fund, and it's pouring out. So this is the time that you use these funds. Here's something that I think you'd find really exciting. We're right now in the field with renowned pollster Nick Nanos talking to consumers, saying, how has COVID changed your attitudes? Are you interested in real estate because you've been locked up in your house for 12 straight weeks? Are you concerned about the marketplace? Do you want to get a place with more space? Do you want to get a cottage? Do you want to upsize, downsize? All of that, we're currently in the field. We'll have that information coming up very soon. We'll do that on a monthly basis so you can see how consumers are reacting according to polling data. We're offering leadership courses as well. Realtors will be called upon to continue to volunteer for local groups in their community, whether it's hospital boards or the food bank or running for office. So we have our training sessions we're offering for free on developing those skills to give back, and regular town halls as well on programs that are available for realtors through the crisis or brokerages and teams. So update on those things and what our new legislation is going to mean for you. This will be launched later this summer, a technology helpline. We're doing a lot more digitally, and consumers responding very well to that. So we're looking at a tech helpline, so wherever you are 24/7 to help you with bugs in your system. Mental health hotline as well. We're looking at services to help our members during this crisis for their physical well-being, social well-being, mental well-being. Talking to our members, we're identifying the major stresses out there, no doubt, especially for newer members. So we'll look to that launching in about 2 weeks for services to support you during this time of crisis for your personal and business needs, as well as financial. And we've also supplied Zoom licenses to our local boards to help them communicate with their members wherever they are in the province. Part of that $1.9 million is almost $500,000 to go to charity. So this is money that realtors can proudly say has been given back to food banks, to shelters in big cities and small across Ontario, showing how realtors, even during a time of crisis where their own budgets are impacted, are still giving back to the communities that they love and helping out vulnerable populations. Brooke, this is a big part of what my job is as CEO, is working with government. So it really falls into three baskets. Number one is with the federal government. So CREA, your national association, is a lead here, but we're right there at their side. This is to make sure that every program that is out there will treat realtors fairly. So as independent contractors, I'll talk about it in a moment, there's programs for brokerages, small businesses. We want to make sure that every realtor broker is treated just as any other Canadian business or independent contractor. The model is different, right? You do all the work, you throw up the deal, and then you get paid 30 to 90 days later. That shouldn't bias you out of these programs. So that's a big part of our activity right now behind the scenes. Second basket is at Queen's Park. You never know what curveball is going to come during this type of crisis. I talked earlier about open houses. How do you work in properties that have tenants in them? Because tenants right now cannot be evicted even if they're not paying the rent. I mean, that makes sense. You don't want to kick somebody in the street during a pandemic, but it does mean difficulties for mom and pop landlords. That may be some of you, certainly your clients, who now may be going months without any kind of rent payment and having to finance their investment savings. So we're calling on the provincial government there to give a program to help landlords make ends meet until tenants can catch up with arrears. Also, we're sending out shortly a legal opinion for realtors showing in condos. We know a number of condos, particularly in the GTA, have closed the door to realtors. They don't understand that realtors can show properties and that realtors, of course, are going to respect the health and safety for the tenants and members who occupy that building. So we have a legal opinion so you can have it on your phone if you have any trouble. We've also worked with their provincial association, who have now communicated that to all the condominium managers. And the third basket here is what's going to happen next. So come September, when the government is getting us out of the lockdown stage into an open economy, looking to stimulate the economy, we're coming up with ideas to help real estate help lead that economic and confidence recovery. A couple of things we're researching right now to present to government later in the summer. We think a land transfer tax holiday, both in Toronto and across the province, would be brilliant. That would really spur activity. And you know as well as I do, the spin-offs that come when somebody buys a home, right? Furniture, appliances, clean the place up, maintenance, moving. Like if you want an engine that can help get Ontario's economy back on track, it's really real estate transactions. So we're going to pitch that, as well as a renovation tax credit and speeding up the approval process for new housing so there are more affordable options in the marketplace. So that's all currently underway. So what does this all mean for TRESA? TRESA is, of course, our new legislation to replace REBA. This is a happy moment where Sean Morrison in the purple shirt there, he's our president, acting realtor from Burlington, and David Oikel, who's our president-elect, realtor from the Ottawa area. That's at our stage at the Reality Conference just this last February. And it was an awesome moment because during our conference, the TRESA legislation passed into law. And everybody who was there, all the members, all voted for it. Like all 4 parties supported it. That was great. So it's like, okay, let's get going and start doing the regulations around that law. So big part of our push was for personal real estate corporations. That was top of our list. Also at the top was the ability for realtors to use the term real estate agent or realtor in their advertising. So that is happening. Now it's been delayed because of COVID. That makes sense. But we will see those things happening by the end of 2020. So the minister met with us just a week or so ago and confirmed with us that the good news is that personal real estate corporations will happen this year. All right, here's some programs I'll run to quickly, and then I'm happy to take any questions. Just so you know, these are programs available to you. So the Canada Emergency Response Benefit is for independent contractors who have been hit by COVID. If you're making less than $1,000 a month, you can apply for up to $2,000. That goes until September. There's a wage subsidy for employers. You do have to have a payroll account, but they'll cover up to 75% of wages. If you don't qualify, there's a 10% wage subsidy for others. Not as generous, but it's there. If you have a business account, you can get an interest-free loan of up to $40,000. If you pay that back by the end of 2022, you keep $10,000 without taxes, right? So that's a good sign without interest on that. And an emergency commercial relief fund that's available, landlords do have to apply for. It's not a perfect program, but it's on the table. Here's things that you may want to send out to your clients because they will look to you for advice on what government is doing and how to put more money in their own pockets. So we all have electricity pricing relief right now. We're at the lowest rate. There's a child benefit available to every kid in Ontario, $200 per child 12 and under, $250 if they have special needs. Families can also defer their OSAP repayments to help with cash flow. Most of the major institutions have mortgage deferral programs. You can also defer your taxes until the end of June, whether it's personal or corporate, and what's owing until the end of August. The auto insurance companies, believe it or not, have a refund for you too because we're driving less. Each one has their own program. And because it's going to be tough for students to find jobs this summer, there's also a program available for students. So I'll send around this deck. You may want to send it out to your clients because they'll have trouble following all these programs and now that you know them. We also had a series of additional emergency clauses to help out in real estate transactions. We're doing regular webinars on those, like unable to complete the deal because of COVID, how you handle key drop devices, electronic signature consent, video conference closing, also not having a buyer inspection, acknowledgement, or the deal is subject to the buyer personal inspection. So all those clauses at your disposal during this unprecedented time. And we do regular webinars to take your questions and how to use them. So check this out again through our website, oreacovid19info.com. We have a series of webinars. In fact, one happening today around financial planning for our member boards. And if you miss it, they're posted there at that website. Standard clauses, how to use them, mental health, well-being, and stress management, and how best to work from home, government programs and how to access them, and also having expert guests on what's going to happen next with the economy and where consumers are going and new tech tools that you could use. For those that have friends in the college or interested yourselves, whether it's pre-licensing, articling, or broker program, we did have to suspend our in-classroom as well as our testing as a result of COVID. That's understandable, but we want to make sure that no student who has a dream to be a realtor or a broker will lose her dream, that we will make changes to enable them to continue their education. So here's the plan. We're currently working and hope to launch in June live exams online, 24/7. There'll be an inspector who will watch the person, identify them, make sure there's no cheating, but they can do that online now. So we're finalizing our beta testing on that. Look to that to launch in June. We want to resume in-person exams for those who want to do paper or the iPads as soon as we can. Right now, the province does not allow for that, but we'll do a blitz when it becomes available. And also to give more time, because students have lost 2.5 months, heading to 3 months now, to extend the college until March 31st of 2021. Right now, we're scheduled to close it at December. So we've asked RICO and the Ontario government for more time so students don't have to rush and cram. Last thing on this too, we've allowed students to transfer from in-classroom to online learning, and many have taken advantage of that for free. I'll highlight this and then I'll take this down and take any questions that you folks may have. Our president, Sean Morrison, has a regular podcast at OREA.com podcast. We are currently consulting with members on future new services. So what would be of use to you as a member? Take the time to go to neworeaservices.com. And I'd love to see more agents here on the call to join a research panel. It's top right corner. About 2,500 realtors right now get a monthly survey from us on what's happening in the market, what do they want us to deliver as a program to lobby government for. It really acts as the heartbeat of the realtor on the street. So those results go directly to my board and to me as CEO to make sure we're acting on what you want to see done. It just takes a moment of your time. So if you want to go to joinorearesearch.com and sign up, would love to have you giving us monthly advice on what the priorities should be. So here's my contacts and that of OREA as well. I like to promote on social media what we're up to, try to be fully accessible to you. Again, I apologize for my mix up with the timing here today, but please take that down and I will be at your service to answer any follow-up questions that you have. All right, at that moment, then, Brooke, I will take this down and happy to take any questions that the agents have this morning.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute and ask.
I see everybody staring at me. Are there some people typing? Happy to take live questions too. And again, I will send to Brooke the updated slide deck, and she can distribute that to all of you so you can key live on any of the links on the document and send it to whoever you like that's a member of Sutton as well. Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
See you again. I'm great. Thank you.
Good. A lot of conversation, people asking if OREA and or any of the other associations will be putting together a unified disclosure form that people can fill out when they're showing properties. Do you have any insight or thoughts on that by any chance?
Currently before our standard forums committee, Lori, so it's a great question. And we're hearing that from a lot of members because every brokerage has its own form. And now with activity heating up, that's a lot of your time filling out those forms. So our board did talk about it at our most recent meeting last week. Our standard forums committee is reporting back on that, Lori. I know CREA is looking at it as well in terms of this, something we should have across the country consistently, not just in Ontario. So hopefully something soon on that front, because it is under consideration at both levels.
Can I ask a second question?
Yeah, sure.
Just along the lines where we're hoping everybody's behaving and doing what they should be doing when they're showing properties, but there's been a lot of chatter as well about people not behaving when they're showing properties, bringing extra people, not following protocol. Is there going to be any sort of announcement as far as that to say, hey, we're walking on a thin wire here, let's behave?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And I know the folks here have a very strong reputation for high levels of service and professionalism. So thank you for that. We did send out guidance on Monday to all of our members on how to conduct yourself in the marketplace. As you know, we're a member association, so we can't force it, but we do try to provide helpful, plain language advice on conduct now that we've entered stage 1 of the recovery. So we, Premier Ford announced stage 1, which is the basic unwinding. As you know, you've seen that news, right? Retail can open up now, more opportunities recreationally. So we said, okay, let's update our language away from stop everything towards common sense and good judgment. So basically encouraging folks everywhere possible, first and to the greatest extent, to use electronic tools with your clients, electronic documents, speaking with them either on phone or video conferencing, limiting face-to-face, and then a series of guidance around showings in person, responsibilities around cleaning and disinfecting, spacing times, making sure doors, windows, where it makes sense, closets, such are open. So that document was sent out. You know what, Brooke, I think Laura asked a great question. In case folks didn't see that, because sometimes our email database can be out of date, I will send that to you as well if you don't mind distributing. So I think here's what Lori would like. We then work with RICO, because RICO is the enforcement arm, as folks know. So if there are folks out there who are breaking the rules, RICO will be the enforcement arm on that. The biggest risk here is, negative media stories of realtors playing fast and loose with the rules and jeopardizing public health. I think it's been great how Sutton and Leading Brands, and Lori's on the Toronto board, who disabled the open houses, acted very quickly on that. Like, if we're seen on trying to make a quick buck and jeopardizing health and safety, the Premier can take us off the essential services list like the next day, and all real estate shuts down. And that hurts you, but most importantly, it means clients who are desperate to find a place to live are going to be out of luck. So that's what's at risk. So RICO will take reports of people breaking the rules, and we'll do our best, Lori, to give sensible guidance and update that at each stage of the province's unwinding. But I'll be sure to send that through to you, Brooke. Thanks. Great questions, Lori. And good to see you again. Thank you for your leadership too on the TREB board.
So we have a couple questions in the chat. Do you want me to read them to you and then you can answer, or do you want to read them?
So yeah, just pull them up. Thanks for telling me. So Marcella asks, some commissions are received, however, unsure of the future income. So do I apply for the 2K? Yeah, I think you should. Now, Marcella, I don't know if you work with an accountant yourself. I always would recommend that. So you can make sure you've got the time periods. We do as well at OREA offer our services to help the members in applying for these programs. But on the monthly basis, if you're making less than $1,000 in income, you can apply for the $2,000 or more. And we pushed for that to be extended all the way to September successfully too, because many realtors will not be affected by the slow April and May market until summertime. So, the old rules, you would have been disqualified out just because of the nature of the real estate business. We got that extended. So I would look at a month-by-month basis. If you're less than $1,000 in income, then do apply. And it's a $2,000 on top, right? So you make $999, you still get the $2,000 on top. To be on the safe side, if you do have an accountant, they're doing lots of these, I do recommend that you use one just to be on the safe side. If you get overpaid, you find out later, you have to pay it back in your taxes next year. All right, so Laura asks, if we received a commission middle of May and then not expecting any more for the year, how much CERB can I claim? I have office expenses, et cetera. So I believe you're allowed 4 months worth. So that's $2,000 over any of those 4 months between now and September where you qualify. So that would be up to $8,000 in the CERB if you're making less than $1,000 in that particular month. Again, if you use an accountant, just work with them to be on the sure side. The government is doing the right thing here. They're erring on the side of giving you the benefit of the doubt. They're doing that because they want to make sure money's coming back into the economy, that people can start spending again. So almost everybody I've heard of that applied did get the money. And if you find out you didn't need it, then like I said, you have to be taxed back on it next year. Thanks, those are good questions. And again, if you have particular questions, I do have staff that I've designated to work with our members and the federal government to try to assist, because there's always going to be unique situations on how payments occur, especially in real estate. So we're happy to be there for you. So Jeff Birchmore, hello, Jeff. You mentioned extension for the OREA College to October 31st, 2021. When do you expect to be finalized? Okay, to be clear about that, maybe I was going through it too quickly because I apologize for missing the start of the meeting. March 31st. So we, as folks know, and if you don't, just quick background, the OREA College is scheduled to close by the end of 2020, programs being transferred to Humber and NAIT. But we have students within our system who are supposed to finish within our system. So we've made the case that since we've had to shut down in-person classes and exams since the middle of March, that we should get that extension until March 31st of 2021. Sorry, March 31st of 2021. So we've had good meetings with RICO about that. And with the Ontario government, we don't have a final answer on that as of yet. We do hope to hear soon so we can let our students know that when the online exams come, that they don't have to rush through it, that they'll have time to learn the material. Okay, so Jeff, again, March 31st, 2021. When do I hope this to be finalized? You know, I do hope we can finalize that in June, although the government has a lot of issues, obviously, to worry about, but that would be our goal. Janice asks, is it based on when you're actually doing the work, i.e. launching an MLS listing and working at the beginning of June, but not getting paid till closing, which is July or August or further? Yeah, it's closing. So again, you know, work with your accountant. Depends if you do accrual or cash-based accounting. But for most realtors, it's going to be when you earn the money. The government will count it when the money gets in. Sorry, I shouldn't use earn, when you get paid. That's when they will look at that time period. So for most realtors, the crunch is not going to hit for a couple of months. And that's why we worked with Korea. I know Treb also very supportive of this, to make sure that that program window was expanded, because you're unique among independent contractors, and we were successful in getting it expanded until September. If we need more time, we'll push for that as well. And the government has been quite flexible about this. I think their motivations are right. They're opening more doors rather than closing them. But to be clear, work with your accountant. But the way they're interpreting it is when you get paid, when the money gets into your account. Can I ask back, folks here? I mean, tell me a bit about the state of the market right now. What are you finding on the streets as we hit the end of May?
I can speak a little bit to Durham region. So our office, we're located in out in the East End, and just price points here tend to be a little more manageable. So we've been pretty busy. It's been interesting to see what is happening out there. It's good and it's bad all at the same time.
What's the bad part?
Just when you're hearing that there's so much activity on some properties, like you're hearing that someone had 50 groups of people going through a property, and it's just kind of nerve-wracking to think, how can you possibly keep that environment safe?
Yep.
But the upside of it is there are 50 people out there who want to buy a property, so that's amazing news.
Okay, I appreciate that. And Stephen Bryson says 32 offers on a flip in Barrie. Holy smokes. Laura, lots of people chomping at the bit to get back out looking. Okay. Laura Fernandez, buyers want to buy, but unsure of high unemployment, therefore prices will come back. Yeah, I get that. And whether it's Lori or others want to answer, in terms of what are people expecting, like when they either are listing their home or going in as buyers, what are they expecting in terms of health and safety measures, personal protective equipment, that kind of stuff? Or is it like a huge range?
I think it's a huge range, actually. I think you have people who, as buyer's agents, are taking it upon themselves to make sure that they protect themselves and their clients. And then you have seller agents who are trying to protect the entire environment. So tends to be that people are trying to provide sanitizer, which some of the stuff, it's hard to do because people are taking more than they should as well, which turns into a whole other problem.
And how about the use of masks? Are people asking, people coming in to see a showing to wear a mask? Are people wanting to wear a mask when they go into a house?
I don't know if someone else can answer that. I honestly am not sure about the mask. I just launched a listing and I provided masks. I'm not sure how people, there's other people using my ID. So if you see Lori Roberts typing, it's other people.
Well, I was going to say, because the picture was me. I was going to say there's another Lori Roberts, right? Or you're multitasking.
That's right.
So the other Lori Roberts says, agree, huge differences between health measures. Some aren't thinking about it. Seniors seem to think it is overkill. It's true about the seniors. My parents are like that too, right? That this is nothing. We've lived through worse. My wife Deb's folks who went to visit them, kept our distance and all that for Mother's Day. And her dad comes up to me to shake my hand and all that kind of stuff, right? Like there's nothing going on. And then you don't want to be rude to the father-in-law. That could cause all kinds of problems. It's a very awkward moment, but he stopped just before the handshake. But that is interesting about seniors. They seem to be less inclined. And I think if you're 25 and younger, as we saw at Trinity Bellwoods Park. Okay, that's all very helpful. So those faces I can see. Did you folks see the OREA guidance we sent out on Monday on conducting real estate? Stage one, some yeses. Okay, all right. Well, it's always good to be safe, so we'll send that back through Brooke. My clients don't have a car. First-time buyers, can I drive them in my car, Laura? Boy, I don't look. You got to make your own call on this. I would suggest that you don't. In fact, our advice is not to pick people up, and maybe they're going to take an Uber or something like that, right? You don't want to put your safety on the line. Who knows how many other people you'd be running into in your life. So our very strong recommendation, we can't force you. We're not going to lock you up, but very strong is not to pick up clients in the cars, even though that's something you've probably done many, many times. Just don't for the time being. Are people seeing elevated challenges with bank appraisals and success or failure in obtaining financing? Kimberly replies no to that one. I hear both. I hear that sometimes, and sometimes I hear it's not the case. So I don't have particular brilliant insight into that, except sometimes I hear about it on these and sometimes I don't. Well, that's very helpful feedback, folks. Thank you very much for that. And you certainly see in the showing time data that the numbers are moving up quite quickly as the weather warms and people are becoming more accustomed to how to deal with COVID risk. And thank you for what you're doing to look out for clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, in doing a safe interaction in the marketplace. Oh, is this the imposter, Lori Roberts? An appraiser used photos sent by seller for appraisal. Laura Fernandez insists on them wearing a mask. Yeah, look, again, Laura, our advice is strongly, it's right in our document not to drive people around, just if you postpone that for a while. I'm assuming because of Sutton Realty here that you're probably in Toronto or near GTA. So I would encourage you to look at other options. I really would. So Brooke, anything else I can do? And again, my deepest apologies. I just had my head 11:30. You did tell me the right time. It's my bad. So sorry. And thank you for your patience. Anything else I can do for you today?
I think we're all good unless there's any more questions.
Well, as I mentioned, we'll be launching some new programs in June. One around sort of coping in this new environment, mental health, stress, financial advice, given the state of the economy and working from home. So if you want to take advantage of that, there'll be more details coming out in mid-June, as well as our monthly report on consumer sentiment. So if you want to have me come back, Brooke, I promise I'll be 7 minutes early. I'd be happy to speak with Sutton folks here again as we launch these new services for COVID. And thank you very much for what you are all doing in the marketplace during these difficult times. I appreciate the hospitality of inviting me. And hopefully, as Queen Elizabeth said so nicely a month or so ago, I hope to see you all soon in person.
Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thank you. Take care and have a good day.